in the event of hate crimes or incitement against either Muslims or Jews. And we'll have people here will talk about that briefly in terms of what's been done already in Washington. We're also educating ourselves about each other, sponsoring events where Imams and Rabbis and scholars discuss Islam and Judaism, the work here of the Greater Washington Muslim Jewish Forum. And to do that, I am now going to call, let's see, the first person I'm going to call is Suhail.
This is something that we came together just a little over a year ago. And the idea, just as Walter articulated, was to not only stand up for discrimination and bigotry when it affects our own individual communities, but really to stand in solidarity with one another, to stand against all bigotry, directed particularly against what in the Islamic tradition we call the people of the book, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, people that all receive divine revelation. Indeed, it's unique and common both in the Jewish and the Muslim tradition that we are taught that he who takes one innocent life, it is as if he has taken the entirety of humanity, and one who saves one innocent life, it's as if he has saved the entirety of humanity.
We chose the opportunity to talk to University of Maryland, to get the Jewish students and the Muslim students together. They made signs, they made posters to be able to greet us. This was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for interfaith relationships that she had no idea what she did. And so we went to all these different places. We had a peace pledge that a young person wrote, and I'm going to read it to you because we made it really large and we put it on the side of the bus, and we invited people to sign it. And we went around singing a song that's very, very easy. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom.
I just want to mention two very different moments that we've had in our relationship. I guess it's been about 3 years now. One was public and one was private. The private one was that we together painted an apartment of a needy family in the area. And my memory from that is spending about an hour painting in one of the rooms of this apartment with a young Muslim American man. And we were trading stories about our immigration history in our families. And it's really something that I had never done before, and it was something that I wanted others in my congregation to have that experience. The other was bringing a group of about 25 people from my congregation to the Eid Day ceremonies with the McLean Islamic Center and also the Adams Center. And I was astounded that while I was there, they asked me to step up to the podium and say something to the crowd of hundreds of people who were worshiping for that day on the holiest day of the year.
And after the training, this is one of the things, what happened. Jeff invited us to come for the Shabbat services. That was probably my first ever time in my life to go in a synagogue and see what they do, how they do it. And it's pretty much nice to see same side facing and having the prayer and having the salah, working for others and helping others and all those things. I said, great, this is great. And after that one, we have opportunity to invite in our congregation one of the congregates home, and there people came and we sit down, as Andra mentioned right here, sit beside different person, we had the same thing. And after the interaction, I got several emails and letters which were from my congregation that they had a great interaction with the other congregations. They would have never thought of getting that one. So these things are great. I think this breaks the barrier.
Here to talk about the Jewish Islamic Dialogue Society, a number of you have taught at the Jewish Islamic Dialogue Society, but I will assume no knowledge of this organization. We started around the same time Barack Obama became president, just a coincidence. We've been meeting basically every month. Occasionally, like every November, we'll bring the teenagers together from Jewish and Muslim communities over the area to do something like clean up a public park or help the homeless and engage in dialogue. This year we had a complete teenager-run dialogue. They did everything. But our bread and butter is engaging in adult dialogues. We try to make them hard-hitting, intellectually stimulating.
Relationship, and Jews and Muslims lived together in peace for a long time, much longer than Jews have lived in Europe.
So I've already written a card to the Imam saying I'd like to talk to you. Hopefully they'll do that.
The whole idea of bringing the Imams is
So it's not surprising that it'll cause the same rift when it comes to different congregation.
So if we can somehow make ourselves involved with the basic fundamental principles, like just like Rotary, principles of Rotary, is it
Because I have the same narrow-minded Muslim mentality also in Baltimore, and I see the same narrow-minded Jewish mentality with some of us.
I'm not the moderator. I'm the moderator, but I'm letting you moderate. By the way, where is the Moroccan
Stand up from the table. Stand up to be seen. Speak up to be heard. And sit down to be appreciated.
Close theologically, that if we can speak together, individually, separately, and together about the unity of God, this can help create unity.
That while it's very easy for us as religious leaders to get together and talk, we need to create the same situation for our congregants.
To conduct joint programs, both educational and social programs, to help assuage the fear and uncertainty that each group has about the other, about behavior, customs, religion, on individual and group levels, also at the level of the leader and the lay people. And the second is we need to issue joint statements against violence from wherever the violence comes. So perhaps one of our communities wouldn't be comfortable issuing a statement against one certain act of violence. Together, we can do just about anything. The goal is to build trust.
We had a great team here. We had reflections about youth, reflections about dealing with congregations, and reflections about dealing with the unmosqued or unsynagogued, unaffiliated. Focus on community service projects, helping the homeless, the issues of poverty, healthcare, social mercy issues, and even kind of social activities. Just bring Jewish and Muslim youth together for fun, so they get to know each other. The other part is, again, building on education. One thing that we've done actually is host a Seder at a mosque and host iftar at a synagogue. That's one reflection. And then finally, just more on education about teaching religious values of human life and valuing protection of life as well.
Jewish visits to mosques and Muslim prayers. Personal contacts of children with children and adults with adults. Especially youth connections, youth working with youth on common values, particularly social justice projects that reflect our common humanity and that which we care about most.
As has been said earlier, that we definitely advocate for meaningful one-on-one community engagement on cultural, personal, and religious issues, but including very difficult issues. That we need to have engagement to discuss very difficult issues, because that's where the conflict resides, and to go from there. And the second issue that we had in common amongst much of our discussion was that while disengagement on a personal, on a community level is very key, what needs to be done is we need to leverage the media. The media needs to cover and really report back to the larger community what is occurring, that this work is occurring, and that will help in a long way to undo a lot of the stereotypes of conflict when they see imams and rabbis working together, communities working together on issues that affect our
Both minorities living, trying to protect our minority values in a non-Jewish and a non-Muslim country. So that was what we said was our first bridge and why we need to open the dialogue.
We should be able to coexist. Internally, we should educate our own congregants about the religious decree to engage and understand, and to educate them about the anti-Semitism or Islamophobia that we see in our congregations. we should understand and reflect on each other's culture, and contextually we should ask ourselves what is Jewish and what does it mean to us, and what is Muslim, what does it mean to us, so what do the words mean? And practically, let's start off the women's interfaith group, the Daughters of Abraham, to meet periodically to learn, cook, sew, share, build
It's such
relationships.
an important time for us to come together, this time of tension and conflict and loss of lives in the Middle East. And for that reason, I feel that we have an opportunity, if we prioritize getting to know one another, dispelling stereotypes and modeling cooperation and really reconciliation here in the work that we do. I also believe we're coming together because we don't really have a choice. We have been interconnected since the time of Abraham, and history and fate have really thrust us together again and again, and we live together in this global world. And so long as one of us is oppressed, the other of us suffers. So we are stronger together. And the Reformed Jewish movement believes that profoundly. And so in 2007, we came together with the Islamic Society of North America and created the Children of Abraham, which is a program that teaches dialogue. And I don't know if you talked about it, I wasn't here earlier. Yes, we have a book, and many of our synagogues have taken advantage of it, and we continue to promote it. And we were also one of the founding members, as Rabbi Lustig was telling you about, of Shoulder to Shoulder, which just came into existence in 2010. And it's a national campaign of religiously diverse and faith-based organizations, groups, that all fight anti-Muslim bigotry across our entire country. And the work that Shoulder to Shoulder does is so important. They work on a national level, and they bring voices to the table, not just Muslim voices, but other faiths, so many other faiths to the table to speak up for really religious pluralism, religious freedom, and also to sort of be a rapid response team when it's needed, not just here in the Capitol, but all across the country. And it's my honor to serve on the executive board. So I'll just finish by saying that if we succeed together, I think that we have an opportunity to proclaim a vision of hope, justice, and peace that can help transform not just our country, but really the entire world. Nice to be with you all.
We have had every year a major conference where Jewish scholars and Muslim scholars would come together and present serious papers how we go forward. Those papers, we had one conference in the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York, another in Hartford Seminary, and another was here in Washington, D.C. So the papers are very serious papers about Islamic jurisprudence and Jewish jurisprudence, and the ways in which they are so close to each other and how much we could learn from each other. So the result of those papers is a book called, here you have, Sharing the Wealth.
Speak in a clear voice. One word from your tradition.